Karl, good to see you.
Good to see you, Trish.
All right, so Steve Mnuchin is saying he's going to cut taxes, and it could happen quite soon, perhaps in the first 90 days. Do you believe it? How's it going to happen? Is there the political will?
Hold on. Not likely to happen in 90 days. Let's temper our expectations. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Brady of Texas is going to be coming out of the chute strong. My sense is that if they haven't been in touch, the new Secretary of Treasury designate and he are going to be in touch, as well as the Senate Finance Committee Chairman. But look, we got this done, a tax cut that was not comprehensive reform, but cutting the personal tax cut rates. It took us 6 months to do it. And it's going to be, if it's a bigger package, it's going to take longer to do it. In fact, it may take until the fall. If they aren't able to get 60 votes in the Senate for it, they'll have to do it through reconciliation, which means it's likely to happen in the fall. But a lot of activity going to be done here. Great news that the economic team is coming into place, and that between what's happening up on Capitol Hill and what's going to happen at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and the Treasury Department, we're going to have a lot of momentum for tax reform.
Let me ask you about the victory tour that he's going on. He's going to be out speaking in Ohio, thanking people there. He's going to be heading to Indiana. You know, the carrier story, a big one, and I want to get to that in a second. But this victory tour, if he keeps this up, I mean, if he keeps up this dialogue by going and having these rallies in the country at large, is that something, a tool that he could really use, Karl, to his advantage? In that, you know, if you're trying to get a tax cut through, if you have the people on your side, that's going to matter.
Yeah, well, rallies help a little bit in that, but what helps even more is what he has done between his last rally on election night and today, and that is he's putting together a very serious cabinet. I mean, these are some really good picks. Wilbur Ross at Commerce is going to be terrific, and look at the number 2 there, Todd Ricketts, who's which is this very interesting choice for him. This was the position that James A. Baker III first held in the federal government. It's an important job, and Trump reached out to make the Commerce Secretary, who's a longtime friend of his, Wilbur Ross, but he picked the number 2 guy, a younger guy who is from a family that opposed Trump during the primary. So, I mean, it shows a willingness to sort of let the past be the past and pick out somebody.
All right, that brings me to my next question. Let the past be the past. Let's talk about Mitt Romney. Do you think he's going to get Secretary of State?
You know, I don't know, but I do know 2 things. One is, this is evidence that Trump, you know, this is not personal to Trump. Whatever he said about Romney and whatever Romney said about him, that doesn't matter to him. That's sort of the past be the past. What he's looking for is somebody whom he thinks has the stature and the ability to be Secretary of State, and he's looking at David Petraeus, Rudy Giuliani, and Mitt Romney, and he's met twice with Romney. This shows to me a couple of things: seriousness of purpose, and second of all, that he is looking for the best person, and let bygones be bygones.
You know all those guys. Do you have an opinion on who would make the best Secretary of State, Karl?
I think the chemistry between the President and the prospective Secretary of State matters a lot. I think also the relationship between the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor matters a lot, and matters in a weird way. The Secretary of State gets to have an opinion. The National Security Advisor is best serves the President if he or she, in the case of Condi Rice, is the, you know, sort of the impartial judge who brings, impartial umpire who brings to the President of the United States all the available options from the Treasury Secretary and the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense and the intelligence community.
All right, so what's that tell you, though, when you start to see these apparent rifts, I mean, that are spilling out into the public? Is that a warning sign at all to you, Karl?
Yeah, it is, and I've spoken about it before. I just don't think that a president's aide, whether the president is in office or not in office yet, it serves the president well, or the president-elect in this case well, by going out and saying, well, I don't think the president ought to do this, and I've told him that privately, and now I'm telling him publicly. There are 2 problems with that. One is it makes the president-elect look weak. His staff feels that they can take their disagreements with in public and suffer no ramifications for it. But more importantly, and long-term, you want to have a White House in which you have people with strong opinions who have mutual respect for each other, who carry those opinions forward to the president, but don't leak on each other. And this is a bad signal that, you know what, you can go into that process, have a disagreement with other people, and maybe even the principal, and go out and say it publicly, and there's no ramification for it.
You wonder if it's going to cost Rudy Giuliani in the long run, though. I mean, you know, to your point, I mean, if he's thinking like you, Karl, it may be a move that he's not so happy with.
Well, Rudy has not been the person. He's been out there advocating for himself. I'm talking about staff going out and commenting on whether or not it should be Romney or not Romney. That is the choice of the president-elect of the United States. And
no, it's a little odd. You wonder why they were doing that and who was encouraging them to.
Yeah.
All right. Any quick thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. It's been mystifying to me. Look, in retrospect, I mean, I disagreed with Governor Bush of Texas that he ought to pick Dick Cheney. And what he did is he had me come in and explain in private why I was against Dick Cheney for vice president. And sitting right next to the governor of Texas was Dick Cheney. So I had my 8 reasons why it shouldn't be Dick Cheney.
At least it was all out in the open.
It was all out in the open. Well, no, it was all in private. And at the end of it,
out in the open with you and the president and Dick Cheney. I hear you.
That's right.
Karl Rove, good to see you. Thank you so much.